Guess what? We did it. We put together a show in 24 hours. We are the 3Turn 3. Yes, I came up with that title yesterday. You're hearing it for the first time. I'm PJ Kwong. We're with Charlene Bailey and Mazen Thomas. We're all skating lovers, and we want to be able to talk a lot about kind of what's been going on the last few weeks in skating. Skate Canada, of course, is coming up this weekend. Skate America happened last weekend. I was in Beijing, China for the Asian Open, which was also the test event for the Olympic Games. And there have been lots of moments that have been happening. And I want to do a special shout out as we're getting started. I also want to remind everybody that you can put comments in the chat, in the window below the screen, and we hopefully will get to as many as possible. Nothing too tricky because none of us knows how to do math. Okay, I'm just going to say that right here. Charlene, say hello, and then Mazen, you're going to say hello.
Hello, everyone. It is so nice to be back. I think it's been a while since we chatted, PJ?
Like a year online. We've chatted, on the phone, but it's been like a year since we did Battle of the Blades. Or as I say, Blade Yes. You are hip deep in your costume design company. How are things going? Is it busier this year than last?
It's busy, but it's weird because the natural flow of the season, it's usually somewhat predictable, like the competitive kids and the star skate kids and then the synchros, and it's just been like all at once because everyone really didn't know what was going on, and like hub competitions were announced, and then it was like, we need something to wear. So it's been a little bit hectic. It's been a roller coaster. It's still not over. I'm still in the cart, like so it's I'm just holding on by the whites of my knuckles.
I totally get it. Hey, Mazen, you're still coaching. Mazen and I know each other through coaching. We coached together for a gazillion years. Charlene and I just knew each other through sort of regular skating stuff. But Mazen, you're coaching. One of the people that is at your rink is Madeline Skizas. Ooh, I'm sure there's some exciting stuff happening for that young woman this season. So give us a quick hello.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I love to see my lovely ladies and to be part of this, journey with both of you. I'm so excited. I think we're going to have a great time. I hope that our guests have a great time. I hope that our audience enjoys it. We love skating.
We do
love skating, and that's why the three of us.
Did you say we love Skype?
I was gonna say Skype, and then I thought, no, I don't love Skype. No, it's just too technical for me.
I mean, you can love Skype, sure.
Sure, love Skype, love Teams, love like all of that web stuff that I call you and I say, okay, PJ, how do I do this?
Exactly. That's a lot of our calls, but you know what? We love you. I love both of you, and I'm so excited to be doing this with you. So our plan is, since we came up with it yesterday, our plan is sort of like once a week to sort of recap what happened the week before and to maybe talk about the upcoming competition. So we're going to talk a little bit about Skate Canada. But before we do that, I want to get everybody caught up on a little bit of news. Roman Sadowski was able to earn Canada an additional berth at the Olympic Games for the men's competition. Congratulations to you, Roman. And Roman will also be competing this weekend at Skate Canada. Other little bits and pieces. I was in Beijing recently. I just got home not quite 2 weeks ago for the Asian Open. Okay, I'm going to say a couple of names to you. Shun Sato, Yuma Kagayami, let's say Mai Mihara, and of course, Kaori. We couldn't talk about skating without Kaori, but the team I really want to talk about is Wenjing Sui and Song Han. They competed at the Asian Open. They won handily. Beautiful programs. I mean, exquisite. Choreographed by none other than your pal and mine, Lori Nicol. I think I have seen the Olympic champions. I mean, everybody's got to skate on the day for sure, but the quality, the intricacies of the programs, to die for. Anyway, that's my little thing. Let me show you a picture. Asian Open, that's me in the background. You know why I'm in the background? That's all my team in the front. I'm in the background because they all wanted to stand on the ice, and I considered that to be an ankle snapper kind of possibility. I'd already hurt my meniscus, so I just said, PJ, the old gal, sitting in the back with my very long hair, doing my thumbs up. Anyway, what do you guys, have you had any moments so far this season that have really captured your attention?
Go ahead, Mazen.
You know what? I have just been so happy to watch these top level athletes be able to compete. And I think what's just been so great is that the entire world has been going through this pandemic, and we're still going through this pandemic. And I'm just so impressed with these young people being able to persevere, being able to train, and being able to go out there and compete. And I think that's just what is just so phenomenal about all of them. Yeah, you know what? There's been some performances that have been kind of like, yeah, okay. And then there's been some performances that have been really good. And then there's been some that have been exquisite. You know, I mean, we can't go on without mentioning in the men's event, Vincent Zhao, who has just been phenomenal. He's been able to compete a couple of times before, you know, the Grand Prix season. He won the men's event last weekend at Skate America,
Yep.
skated so well, looked so confident, looked so fantastic. And you know what? I'm just very, very happy to see young people train and then be able to execute their performances when it counts. And you know what? And he did a great job. So that's somebody that really stood out for me. You know, on
And
the
you know,
other side, you know, I was surprised with Nathan Chen's performance.
yep.
And I have to tell you, I think we can all have our own thoughts as to, you know, what happened and what's going on, this, that, or the other. But you know what? This was his first outing in front of the international judges on the international stage, you know, for the season. He, as well as everybody else, has been dealing with this pandemic and trying to train throughout this time. And so, do you know what? You know, I feel okay with him. He'll be able to, you know, he'll be able to keep building, you know, as he gets closer to, you know, national championships for himself, and then the world championships, and of course the Olympics. I think he'll keep building.
You know what's so interesting, and Charlene and I, you know, we're all coaches here, so we all sort of have ideas about this. Sometimes, you know, you think about a competition earlier on in the season that gets sacrificed because you need to peak at a certain time. Charlene, do you have any thoughts on peaking?
Yes, and especially right now, it's very tricky because, as I had mentioned earlier, the season is just kind of like all over the place and a little bit unpredictable. Perhaps not for these Grand Prix; they're a little bit more in alignment as per like the usual schedule. But you know, it's an Olympic year, so instead of wanting to peak, you know, at nationals to earn your spot to go to Worlds, which is usually later in March, we've got Olympics happening. So it kind of throws off everything amongst all of the chaos that's already been going on. But I did really love Vincent's performances. And I think, Mazen, the best part about Vincent is that he's such a kind person. So you're always like rooting for him. He's just a very, very kind human being. And I think those are my favorites. The other one that stood out for me, as always, is I saw the gala performance of Satoko Miyahara.
Oh,
And I am obsessed with her. That dress was gorgeous, but she just, I've seen her kind of develop, and it's been fun to watch in person as well. And she's just, again, the sweetest. You're always rooting for those people, right?
I sure am. That's for sure. And
Absolutely.
Satoko is sort of training in the Toronto area. So that's why you've seen her in person, I'm imagining.
Yes. Well, and she's been doing
She comes back
choreography
and
here for
forth.
quite some time. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that part is super exciting. So, you know, I love the fact that nothing is a foregone conclusion as far as the Olympic season is concerned. I have to also tell you, it was truly an honor. Carol Lane and students Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier invited me to come to their rink and watch a run through of their free dance. It gave me all the feels. Do you know what? It is what I consider, same with Sui and Hun. Sometimes there are Olympic worthy programs that you just go, man, that's got to be on the Olympic stage, on the Olympic rink. And Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier, I mean, they are displaying what I've known all along, which is that they are artists and they have a connection. And the work is just, it's just exquisite. So I'm really looking forward to the ice dance event. So guys, I want to talk to you a tiny little bit about sort of any other little bits and pieces that are going on in the world of skating. There's been some notices in the press, and actually Phil Hirsch brought up a very interesting and sort of troubling point, and that is that there's been lots of hate and lots of hate expressed in social media against the French ice dancers Gabriela Papadakis and Guillaume Cizeron, specifically because of Guillaume Cizeron's sexuality. I want to say to people, it's 2021. Wake up. Stop doing that. Stop behaving badly. Do you guys have any thoughts?
It's just, it's not kind. It's not kind. I mean, there's no place for any of that speech, that sound. I don't even want to give that any time, because the more time you give that, the more emphasis, you know, it has. And I don't think that it's fair. I don't think that it's kind. You know, he's an athlete. He is also a performer. He is a skating partner. You know, I don't know him personally, but at least, you know, what we see on the ice is that they have a very great relationship with one another. I've seen them do an interview with one another. They have such respect for one another. What difference does it make?
Well, and I think
What
like
difference?
he's really elevated the sport, right? With Gabriella. And I think that it's a shame that people bring, you know, people's personal lives into their work. What happens in someone's personal life is none of your business. And, you know, as someone who would be personally offended by that, if someone came after me for that, like it's not relevant to the sport at all. And if you can't keep your comments to yourself about what makes you feel uncomfortable, say nothing, say less, say less.
Say less. You know what? That's going to be my motto for 2021. And I'm going to share that with everybody else. We're going to make that as a banner. I'm going to do that right this second.
I say this to the kids. Less is best, especially when it comes to eyeshadow. That's all I have to say.
Here it is, people.
Where is the lie?
That's going to be the 3Turn3 motto. Say less, except not for us, because if we're doing a show live on not Instagram, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, we want to make sure we say enough.
For sure. And I think that before we move on, I think like as much as we're saying say less, I think that you know, it is important for any young people or not young people watching. Be true to yourself and do not be afraid to speak up for yourself. That is when you don't say less. You just be you in whatever full capacity that is, and that is enough, and that is wonderful. So that is the only time that you do not say less.
Agree 1,000%, Charlene.
Yeah,
agree
me too.
1,000%.
And you know what? As coaches, I'm a former coach now. I haven't coached in about 5 years, maybe a little longer. I want to say that one of the privileges of being a coach is to be able to support young people. So if you're out there and you're struggling and you've got a good relationship with your coach, you can start there. You can start with your parents. But, you know, as we just said, for those of you out there that are hating, say less. And my other expression that I really like is it seems to be that those who know the least know it the loudest. So we want to have
so true.
Isn't that just wait? Somebody who's on set right now at Canada International. Murray, hi. And you know what's so exciting about this? We have, in addition to Murray, we have a special guest coming up. Sam Correa, my old boss from the Pan Am Games Toronto 2015, who is running the media room at Skate Canada International. So he's brought a couple of pics about what's going on there. And I really wanted to talk to him to share with the audience what's different about being, you know, in media, supplying services to the media at an event, because he's done a couple. He's at Skate Canada International, but he was also at the FIBA basketball event that was in Victoria before the Summer Games as a qualifying event. So he's got lots he can say. By the way, Murray says hi back to us. Hi, Murray.
Hi, Murray.
So I want to talk a little bit about the men's competition. Is of course going to be is going to be something that everybody's going to watch. We're going to talk about Yuzuru Hanyu versus Nathan Chen. We've got another great comment. This is from Kathy Giles, a former school principal, by the way, and a friend of mine for a gazillion years. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining us. Say less. Yes, exactly. Okay, guys, Yuzuru Hanyu versus Nathan Chen. Yuzuru Hanyu, the two-time Olympic champion. Nathan Chen's been out there in the press talking about his competition in Pyeongchang, the fact that he was 15th after the short, pulled up to fourth or fifth, fourth, I think. I should have looked it up. Anyway, what do you guys think about these two men?
It's juicy. I don't really know. I haven't watched a lot of skating because I've been in a lot of grindstones, so my eyes are like, okay. But I feel like it's going to be a showdown. You know,
I think so
what
too.
Do you think, Mazen?
I totally agree. Ladies, it's going to be who is going to be able to handle the pressure the best. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to come down to. And both of these young men have experience. Both of these young men have been in tough situations. As you just said, Peach, you know what, from the previous Olympics, you know what, Nathan did not have a good short program, and he persevered and came back in the free program. And you know what, and Yuzu, at the end of the day, knows how to be able to deliver. They both do. So I really, really think that either one of them is worthy of an Olympic gold medal. If either one of them gets it, I think I would be totally fine and happy for either one of them. It's going to be whichever one is able to kind of deal with the pressure and deliver on that moment.
It's going to be certainly interesting. What I have heard and what's been out in the press is that there will be spectators only from China. So no international spectators will be allowed. So it's going to be a bit of a different vibe like it was in Tokyo, but at least there will be humans in the building, which will be great. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's going to add to the competition. Okay, we're going to turn the corner a little bit. We're going to talk competition still. I want to show you, it's Throwback Thursday, except it's Friday, a picture that is from my past with this man. This is Sam Correa. We were at the Toronto 2015 Pan Am Games. He was the boss of me, if you can imagine anybody being the boss of me. Sam is in charge of the media room at Skate Canada International. Sam Correa, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning from Vancouver.
And thank you for getting up so early. Now, Sam actually taught me everything I know about press operations and the service. I knew about being media, but I didn't know the sorts of things that the media would require. So, Sam, you've got experience, like you're at Skate Canada this week, but you've got experience on how the media room, the media experience has changed. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Well, I mean, prior to COVID, all we were focused on was really providing the plugs, the points, the tables, and the chairs, because you're planning for a crowd of media to come to an event. Well, since COVID has hit and now we're in the ongoing pandemic world, we're not really welcoming a lot of media still to the events. I can go back to FIBA in July, just before the Olympic Games in Victoria. We had planned that for a couple of years to invite the press. We actually got a chance to get some media on site at that point. It was the first time we were allowing media into a competition in Canada at that point since the pandemic began. So we created what we call the media tribunes, which are seats for the media to see the field of play. I mean, if you're going to come all the way to come to an event, you want to see it, not just on a screen. And then we created what we called the mixed zone, which is the interview location, where right after the competition, the athletes go to an area where they can talk to the press. So what we had at that point at FIBA, we had a bookable mixed zone, which was only 5 spots. And so you had to decide where you wanted to be and who you wanted to talk to. So we had done that. Normally in a mixed zone in the pre-pandemic world, it's not quite a free for all, but it's very crowded, PJ, as you know. It's like you're trying to get in your question, and it's it's shoulder to shoulder, and trying to get that to happen. So that didn't happen at FIBA. We were very organized, and then we had the press conferences, and so the press conferences post competition were done in a separate room, and in essence, it was a Zoom studio. There were no media in the press conference room. And so even the media on site had to ask their questions through Zoom. So it was sort of a hybrid situation at that point. So now here we are. several months later, where the first big skating competition in Canada, Skate Canada International. The competition starts this afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock Pacific. There are spectators allowed. They've sold some tickets, so there'll be one side of the facility will have spectators. The other side is more the accredited side, official side, because the athletes are in a bubble situation. They go from the hotel to the arena and back, and so that's what happens for them. As far as media, this time, it's only TV on site. There's CBC, Japanese television, and Russian television. So they'll be able to ask the questions of the skaters as soon as they come off the ice or after they go to the kiss and cry. And then we will bring them to a mixed zone. But in the mixed zone, there's only Skate Canada, me helping and escorting people around. And so there'll be questions asked on accredited media through a Teams app. Online questions will be asked for that immediate comment.
So Sam, you gave me a couple of pictures. What are we looking at? Can you see that?
So this is in the arena next to the competition arena at UBC. So we're at Doug Mitchell Sports Center at UBC. And it was the Olympic venue for women's ice hockey in 2010. And so that's a bigger facility for the press conference room. So as you see from that picture, we have a table for each skater. So it'll be the number 1, 2, 3 skaters, and there's the camera. So, and that's quite a few feet of distance between the camera and the skaters. So we'll be escorting the skaters into here after their short program, and then the medalists will be there to make their comments in the press conferences. And again, the questions will be asked by the media online, and so the camera will zoom to first skater, second skater, third skater. We practiced that yesterday, so my job is to follow the number 2 skater and find them and bring them back to the press conference room because there's only 3 of us in the media center. So that's another thing that's changed, in that usually we have a big press center with tables, chairs for the press, lots of, I go back to Skate Canada International in Kelowna in 2019, just 2 years ago from today. We had some 40 Japanese press that were there doing scrums and everything. So, and scrums are when everyone gathers together and tries to do the interview all at once, right? So
there's my hand again with my microphone.
Yeah, it's just like, So you provide, so it's about getting access to the comments, right? And how you facilitate the access. So here, there's not as if there's no access, because we are doing it, but it's all online. And I think there's at least 40 or 50 journalists from around the world that are accredited to ask the questions, right? So they're available. They're just going to have even curiously yesterday we were testing the mix zone, and every time we opened up the teams, you have to test it with someone in the building to see how it works. Someone was popping in thinking there was a mix zone happening. So we had no, it's not happening yet. This is practice.
I think all of this, I'm going to show one other picture while I'm asking you this question. That's of the kiss and cry. I love the colors, by the way, but it's interesting how it's just, there's no bench there. Is that on purpose?
Well, no, I think they haven't put the bench in yet.
Okay,
so this was all yesterday in practicing. Yeah. So, they will go to the kiss and cry because you need that shot for television, right? In the broadcast.
So here's the interesting thing about all of this digital stuff, and Mazen and Charlene, you think about it as well. So one of the reasons why I have loved doing interviews and been backstage for skaters and whatever is, of course, to be able to look them in the eye, and they look you in the eye. Sometimes when you ask them a tricky question, because it's me personally asking the question, they've answered it. If the question is me to Sam, who then reads it off to the whatever, I wonder if the answers are also not quite as, let's say, emotional, or not quite as human somehow. What do you guys think?
I almost wonder if there's a lack of building a relationship, because I know, PJ, especially for you, a lot of these skaters have grown up with you in the mix zone with them, and they're very familiar with you. So there's an intimacy shared within those questions and responses. So I wonder if that can be developed digitally, if it's just a human on a screen or words on a screen. Mazen, what do you think?
Well, you know what, I hate to say it, but we started saying things like, this is our new normal, at the beginning of this pandemic. And saying that, I'm just wondering, actually I have a question for Sam. Do you think that this is going to carry on, and is it a simpler format for sport? that this is how it can be, a little bit more organized, a little bit more streamlined? Or, do you hope that maybe one day, someday, we'll get back to those, 40 odd reporters, in a room trying to, beg and ask for their question to the athlete?
Well, I mean, if you look back, even, when PJ and I were working on the Pan Am Games in Toronto in 2015, so 2014, you're making all these plans with media from around the Americas to come to Toronto. So there's the expense of accommodation, accreditation,
Yep.
transportation. You got to do the media buses. You bring them from, in a multi-sport event especially, you have all these additional plannings and costs and activities in order to provide that access where, as we know, so many newspapers or online outlets are just folding. It's a lot. There are a lot fewer journalists available. And even to make that expense, whether they go to the Olympic Games or anything else like that, you still got to come across the country. So yes, I agree that you do the in-person interviews, you're going to get a different kind of an interview for sure. Yeah. Because, even when we're looking at, and I'll watch that for today, you bring the skater in, you're bringing them into a small room. There are a Skate Canada person, myself will be there to help. And then there'll be a TV screen and a laptop, and they're going to just sort of look into the distance and, okay, I heard the question, I'll give you my comment. So you're speaking to someone, but you're not speaking to them in person.
Yes.
However, if you're a journalist from Russia and you didn't make all your way over here and you want to ask a question of the Russian skater, you'll have the chance to do that and get your own clip.
Yes. Yeah.
And even, we go back to, remember, PJ, at the Games News Service, or even right now in the Olympic Games News Service, we actually have a staff of people that collect quotes to provide them for those journalists as well. So yes, it's about getting the story out. So the story can be disseminated in different ways, but it's just what is the depth of the story, I think, will depend on how these events are going to unfold in the future. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we're going to see, crowded press workrooms and media tribunes with shoulder-to-shoulder media in an event anytime soon, in my view.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Okay, so Charlene and Mazen, over the course of the Grand Prix season, and we're hoping to cover it all the way. And you know what, kids? I may even write previews again for myself with PJ's podium picks, but I didn't have time in the last 24 hours. So there you have it. Do you guys have a moment that you're looking for? That you're looking forward to, actually? I'm looking forward to seeing Maddie, by the way, Mazen. I'm looking forward to seeing Maddie Skizas.
Well, do you know what? I'm glad you bring her back up because, I can't go without mentioning this weekend's competition. And as you mentioned, I teach at the skating club in which Maddie trains and skates out of. And I've been watching this young lady work really hard, and she's been just doing a phenomenal job, and I couldn't be happier for her. And I'm going to tag on to exactly what Charlene said before, and that is that, you know what? This young lady is kind, nice, she's thoughtful, and at the same point in time, she's very aware of what's been happening for her, and she's really stepping up to the challenge, that she's got. So I'm so happy for her, and I only wish her all of the very best, and that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing how she does this weekend, and as well as all of the Canadian competitors. I mean, the names of the Canadian competitors, in the men's event, of course, we've got, Keegan Messing, who is a medal contender. We've got Conrad Orzel, who's, skating at his first Skate Canada event. We've got Roman Sadovsky, in the men's event, who's just an exquisite skater as well. And then in the ladies, we've got, our medalists from last year. And I mentioned to you, Maddie Skizas and Emily Bosbach and Allison Schumacher. All three of these ladies are great. They're all coming up. They're very young. They're early on in their senior level of skating career. So, their trajectory is just going up, from here. And of course, we've got, the pairs teams. It'll be very nice and very exciting, to be able to watch Vanessa and Eric, skate at their first Skate Canada competition, together. And Laura Ann, and I have to pronounce his first name right, Thierry, Furland, and Kirsten Moore Towers, and Michael Marinero. They're just, phenomenal. And we've got, of course, Piper and Paul and the ice dancing that we're all looking forward to, that you mentioned, as well, PJ. So it's great.
Here's a great question, and we're gonna sort of wrap things up with this great question. Sam, I'm gonna get you to start with it. It's from Leslie Buttle, Jeff Buttle's mom, Olympic medalist, world champion.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie. Thank you for joining us. So, Sam, it's a question about media education and federations. Are there enough changes that have happened in the way media is performing their services that there needs to be some training for the athletes? Or can the athletes just go based on what they already know about being in front of the media? Just in general, broad strokes, every sport, not just skating.
Well, I think if I was training an athlete, I think you would do practicing, not just, you'll do practicing one-on-one with your microphone and do that kind of interviewing. And, when you're doing a TV interview and you're actually face-to-face, but I think you need some practicing on virtual interviews as well. All the little tips about, setting the headspace and all that, if you're doing it by yourself, but you're going to have an official helping you kind of thing, but how to sit at a press conference, because, where to look, because when the question is coming at you, it's coming at you on a speaker now. It's not coming at you from a person. So there's no eye contact, right?
Oh, I never thought of that.
So
okay.
in that press conference room that we practiced yesterday, you'll have a question maybe from the moderator at the back of the room, right? And it's quite far. We're doing the distancing, of course, right?
Yes.
Or you might hear it on a speaker. So we do have speakers right next to the podium. So you might hear the question come at you from this side, but then you're going to be delivering it that way. And where are you looking? So you get a decent clip. Right? And we want clips, quotes, right? It's all about the product at the end and getting the message out. So I think practicing also needs to be done with your athletes, that, and then you're also where do I go? It's a lot more, if you're in bubble, not bubble, wearing your mask, where do I put my mask on? When do I take it off? All that kind of stuff. So, where do I sanitize my hands? I think all those things are going to be important, especially if we're heading into a major competition. And even with Beijing, there'll be protocols. So yes, you have to plan. You guys are the coaches and everything, planning what happens on the field of play, on the ice, but there's all this extra that goes on in the the post event sequence. How is it going to work?
Do you know, I've done some media training with young athletes, and it's been a whole lot of fun, because younger athletes are perhaps a little bit more innocent than older, more experienced athletes. So they don't quite realize that there can be some pitfalls and some issues around questions that are being asked. So you give them some strategies, but it's just like training them for everything else for a competition, I would think. Charlene and Mazen, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would absolutely. It's kind of like, especially with an athlete, like preparing them for the what ifs. Like, okay, if you fall on this jump, here's the game plan from here. Or, if you forget your program for the little babies, what's the plan? What do you do? So it's kind of like, even at this high level of competition, like you have to prepare for the what ifs so that you know what to do. So there's no panic.
Yeah, good point. Mazen, anything to add?
I think so too. I think, it's very easy to be able to ride a high when you've had an amazing skate, but then it's another thing to be able to answer questions when, you've had a really difficult skate and you came off the ice and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I really just wanted them to press play one more time. Can I start over again? Can I do a mulligan? And so that's the tough part. And I think that's exactly what media training is all about for these young athletes, of being able to kind of handle themselves and to compose themselves in a way that is satisfying for themselves, so that they know it's like, what, I handled myself very well in that moment.
You know what,
you
guys?
Don't have a lot of time, because, as soon as you finish your skate, you are, in most events, you are required to walk through that mix zone area, right? And so either you walk through, and stop and talk is up to the press attaché, especially Olympic Games now. But you still have to walk through, and they do see you if they're in person. So.
Yeah, and this is, I said, where you were talking about before, Charlene, as a figure skating writer, or as a figure skating, commentator / whatever it is that I've been doing. The cool thing has been to sort of make that connection. So there have been times when skaters have had like truly a disastrous skate. You think, did you do that with your guards on? And you just sort of want to say to them, you know what? I know this is tough. I have to ask you a couple of questions, but just know that, I love you and I'm in support of you. So it's that connection that you can make in person that you have a harder time to do when it's just, you from a distance on a speaker or whatever else. So,
sure.
You know what, guys, this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation, as I knew it would be. We're going to be back next Friday. And Sam, you're welcome anytime. We're going to be back next Friday at the same time, and we're going to talk more skating next Friday. So we are going to wrap up whatever happened at Skate Canada. We wish all of the athletes very best luck. If you want to know kind of what else is going on, follow Jackie Wong. He's always got lots going on as far as inside kind of information. We've got our friends at that figure skating show, Asher Hill and Dylan Moskovich on the CBC YouTube channel if you want to get a preview as to what exactly they think about Skate Canada. And other than that, you can always turn to who are we? 3Turn3. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.